This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. My guest today is my new hero. As I've learned over the past year, I have been very close-minded in how I was willing to travel because I'm a princess. I like to be comfortable. But the wonderful Jenell Jones has opened my mind to RV travel, which in my mind, that was always for the boys. Jenell was very patient with me in breaking down the stereotypes and mental barriers I had when it came to this type of travel. She also just gave some really great tips for traveling in general, whether that be RV, plane, train, automobile, walking, whatever it may be. She owns the Wandering Individuals Network, which provides a community feel to RV travel, which, after almost a year of traveling solo, I've definitely been craving that. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hi, Jenell. How are you? Thank you so much for joining.
Yes, good morning, Ashley. Hi.
So I am fascinated by your story and how you travel, especially being a female solo traveler, and it's by RV. So could you tell me a little bit about what that means for your travels? How what got you started, I guess, is a good place to start, is from the beginning. What inspired you to do it this way?
Sure. Let's start at the very, very beginning. When I was growing up, we were poor. Six kids, no money. We
Wow.
moved a lot. I went to 12 schools in 12 years. So, from the very beginning, this wanderlust was instilled in me, and it's just continued throughout my grown up years. When I retired in 2015, I was so excited. I finally get to travel full time. And, I do what everyone else did. I went to Europe and I backpacked the Amalfi Coast. And I literally actually packed one suitcase of warm clothes and I packed one suitcase of cold clothes. And I'd sold my house, put all my stuff in storage. And I ran for 6 months, had no house, and I just traveled and I hiked and canoed the Lewis and Clark Trail. I mean, I went to, like I said, went to Europe. So by the time I was out of money and done with Europe, which coincided, funny enough, I realized I wanted to keep traveling, but I wanted my stuff. I missed my stuff. And the natural progression became an RV, to get an RV and live and travel in an RV full time.
So, what does it mean? Because we were talking a little bit before we started recording. I know very little about traveling in an RV, and I feel like I'm too much of a princess to be able to do it. But I'm going to use this time talking with you to tell myself I'm not too much of a princess. I can do it. It will be okay. So, can you break it down for me of what it means to travel in an RV?
Well, as a fellow princess myself, I will break it down what it's like to travel as a princess in an RV. So, an RV is a house just the same as your house or apartment or condo or whatever you live in. It's what you make and what you can afford. Of course, some of us can afford mansions, some of us can afford apartments. That's fine. And you just make it your own. You can still carry and have all your creature comforts, just maybe not as much. Instead of when I had my house, I had 3 sets of dishes for 12. I don't know why, as a single person, I need that much, but now instead of, a setting for 36 people, I have 2 plates and 2 bowls and 2 of everything, and it's fine. It's so funny. We all have this favorite coffee cup and plate anyway. So, as you get older, funny enough, you have a favorite spatula. We've all seen that. But you can travel and do this, and gosh, if I knew what I knew now, Ashley, I would have done this when I was your age. This is a wonderful lifestyle, so fulfilling and so adventurous, and, you really feel like you've done something when you're in this life. Not that you don't in your life, but imagine going to work, from your house. Imagine going to work, and then at the end of the day, you walk outside and you're at the Grand Canyon, or you walk outside and you're in Utah, and you're going to go do a quick hike, in the Badlands after work. That's what this life is like.
Do you feel that it's more suitable if you're, I guess, a hiker? Because I'm a city gal through and through. I grew up about an hour outside of New York City, and I have lived pretty much, even me traveling through Europe has pretty much been through cities. I'm not much of a hiker per se. Do you feel that it's something that you get used to and you learn to fall in love with that part of life? Or do you feel like you can have that combination still of city life and country life, I guess, or nature life would be the better way of looking at it?
Right. And that's a good question, actually. I don't get asked that a lot. I have chosen to do more of the hiking, biking, kayaking, kind of seeing the national parks and what have you. But I have been to more cities since I've traveled like this than I did before. For instance, there's one RV park in Manhattan, one, and I stayed in that RV park in Manhattan. Good Lord, that's a whole nother story of driving a 36-foot RV. It wasn't in, downtown Manhattan, but it was on the skirts of it.
Mhm.
So, and we've done Philadelphia, Boston. I mean, there's all kind of towns that we've gone to and have nowhere to stay close by so we can run into the city, and we'll stay there 4 or 5 days and move on to the next one. It's that again, it's a great combination of what you would like it to be, and as a princess and the city life, you certainly can have that, and you can have it off kind of season or off times, for the Broadway shows, the restaurants that are hard to get in. You can call and say, I'm going to be there in 6 months. Can I have a reservation to get in a hard restaurant, hard to get in restaurant or a show? I always look ahead, and Cirque du Soleil I'm going to do. It's like next year, but I know I'm going to be there, so I'm getting a hard to get ticket in Vegas. So again, it's what you want it to be.
Do you feel so? Do you feel that you have to plan, or it's bet the way to be most successful in this life is to be a planner and plans it? Because I live my life like I know what I'm doing 5 years in advance type of person. So is
Yes.
that the best personality for RVing, or are you able to have that? Because I have a lot of friends that would love to do an RV living situation, but they don't plan. They go with the flow. So is it also another one
Yep.
of those situations where you could do whatever works best for your lifestyle or
You
personality?
can.
Yeah.
It's better to be flexible. I'm a planner also. I mean, I'm in 2025 already on my trips, and I know I'm talking like into October already of 2025. So sometimes, like if you want to go to, let's say, the Grand Canyon on July 4th, yes, you're going to need some planning. But any RVer would not go near anywhere like that during a holiday because we don't have to. We can do it around there. So if you set your RV up with solar and you have water and know how to live within your means of water consumption and have solar, you can go by the seat of your pants. And a lot of RVers do that because they're tired of the 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, Saturday morning you go grocery shop, and Sunday afternoon you mow the grass. They're tired of all that and they want the seat of the pants thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. And how do you do, because I've been living in Europe for the past year. I've basically been living that digital nomad lifestyle and just hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb. What and the biggest thing that I've come across, because of course, anytime I could run into a nightmare with credit cards, being shut down for whatever reason, or anything that you could think of, run the gamut. I've been through it in the last year. And the biggest issue that I've run into with people is the me not having a permanent address, so to speak, where anybody could mail anything to me. And it's been the
Mhm.
hardest thing for family and friends to wrap their heads around of, oh, well, it's your birthday and I want to send you something or bills to pay or whatever. I feel like so much is online now. So do you
Oh,
still
yeah.
run into those issues or not as much because everything's becoming digital?
That's not even an issue, and people always ask that, Ashley, "How do
Yeah.
you get your mail and how do you get prescriptions?" Those
Yeah.
are so simple. The real issue is how do you get your hair done, which I'll come to in a second. It's so true. That's the real issue. There's mail services all over the United States. It's just if you're not in this life, you don't realize it. And I would tell
Mhm.
you too, Ashley. I'll tell you a mail service that can help you when we get off air. And then same with prescriptions. You put your prescriptions at Walmart in the states, and their WalMarts everywhere, and they have access. So that's nothing. That's that. And did you know, Ashley, you could rent an RV in Europe and that would do several things for you. It would give you a fixed cost
Mhm.
and it would be cheaper for you to do because you could rent a small one that you could park anywhere and then and it could also have a small kitchen in it so you could get control of your food and eating out and what have you. But
Yeah.
Airbnbs are different prices and you look for what's in your price range. An RV is a fixed cost for you every night. It's X amount a night. So just something for you to
Yeah.
consider.
And this is something that also at times ties into because I have celiac, and the whole purpose of me starting this whole thing was me traveling with celiac, and there's so few resources for people. And I think the intriguing part about an RV, as I see on these celiac travel blogs where people are like, I'm stressed about what can I find at the airport and all that other stuff. In an RV, you have a kitchen. You just need to bring your
Yes.
groceries and your utensils and your cooking supplies, and there you go. So I feel like for people with celiac, it's a really great way to travel extra, just even more so in that regard as
It
well.
it is actually, and we've got a couple of celiacs. One of them is extremely I mean, she walks past flour. She's just miserable. But and then there's a couple other ones too that, for whatever reason, maintain a super strict, pescatarian, vegetarian, and all that, and they're able to control it much easier in their RV because they can exactly buy what they need, and they know their utensils have not been mixed with because like I said, the one girl that's super sensitive to
Mhm.
gluten. She doesn't even mix her utensils. Well, of course, there's no flour products in her house, but it's gotten so bad when she goes out to eat, she has to call ahead and can you separate even the utensils and the pot? I mean, it's that bad.
Yeah.
But an RV helps you control anything like that you want, that you need real tight over. RV is the way to go. Or like
Yeah.
a house, being at a house. But with us, you get to travel.
Yeah, 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 and it's I guess the one thing would be time, that it would take for you to travel
Mhm.
from point A to point B. It's so easy to be like, "I'll just get on a plane," but at points, especially in the US, it's not so much as much of a problem in Europe, I'm finding with taking flights, but in the US, it's gonna take you as much time to fly somewhere nowadays as it would have been to just drive, so might as well just drive and take the RV, and,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My Another logistical question that I have, and I think I'm 5'2" on my best day. And I work in video production. At the start of my career, I was a PA, production assistant for those at home that don't understand film terminology. And I would have to drive these 15 passenger vans. And there was a point where I had to tell them I can no longer accept those jobs because I was too tiny. I couldn't see over the steering wheel. And in Manhattan, I thought I was going to kill somebody on accident just because I simply was not tall enough to see. Is there something for the shrimps like myself that we could get an RV that we feel like we're driving the RV instead of the RV driving us, is how I like to frame it. Or if you're a tiny person, maybe have a partner that helps you drive.
Well, I am 5'1" and 7/8. That's my official height from the government. I got measured one time for government job, but 5'1" and 7/8. So I feel your pain, short girl. I'm right with you. But I will tell you, RVs, RVs are recreational vehicles. So we tend to think of them as the big motor homes or whatever, but that could be a car camper, that could be a van. Van life is real big now. My RV is 36 feet and I have no problem at all. They make the seats, at least in mine, the seats, they're very adjustable, up, down, side, back. I mean, even, like this even. So for us short people, of course, mine's all the way up and all the way forward. But yeah, that's not really a big issue actually. But you did touch on something that was important for RVing was you you were not sure or you didn't want to drive in Manhattan, you're going to kill somebody, you're not sure. It's the mental aspect of RVing. That you can learn to drive anything. I mean, think about it. You can learn to drive a plane, go to lessons, and you can drive a train, go to lessons, go to training, practice, and you can drive a train or plane or whatever, right?
Mhm.
A Air Force bomber jet, we can learn. It's just training and practice. Same with an RV. Once you have that mental mindset that it's not a scary something to get through, no, it's a challenge and a skill to learn. It's becomes this so much easier world, and dare say I'm relaxed when I drive now. It took me a couple years to be sure, but I'm
Mhm.
relaxed when I drive now. I'm not as scared. I'm not as anxious as I used to be, and it's really opened up a lot to me. And that's what I think that people it comes out as I'm scared to drive this or I'm scared to go off on my own. But I think of a lot of it is they're afraid of the mental part they don't have right. And they just don't know how to express that, what it is that's making them so afraid. So it comes out as I'm afraid to drive.
Another thing of you talked about, like, with you talking about mentality, it made me think when I have heard of RVing, and I think this is why I really was drawn to your story. When I've heard about it in the past, it's usually from, like, guys like Dak Shepard. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
usually hear
Matthew
about it.
McConaughey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hearing about it from, like, men's men. So I think this is a good segue. I would love to talk about the club that you do where it's female in RVs, correct? That you all are traveling together. Is that what it is?
It's men and women,
Okay.
but it's a slightly more women. There's 59% women in the RV club.
Okay.
It is a Wandering Individuals Network is an RV club for solo travelers like myself, like
Perfect.
I'm assuming you would be.
Yes.
Yes, there's lots of clubs for married couples, and most of them are you go off and you all meet for a week here and there across the country. Super fun. I've done it a bunch of times. But this club is for those of us who at the table of 8 at a wedding, you know how you have the one seat next to you because you're still single?
Yep.
This is yeah, we've all been there, right?
Yep.
So, at this, we don't have that extra seat. It's not like that. We're all solo. Some of them are married, some of our group is married, but for whatever reason, the spouse, partner doesn't travel with them, and so we're not the odd man out. A couple coming in here married is the odd man out. I was like, why are y'all married?
Yeah.
Like, why'd y'all do that? So the club, we also go instead of just 1 week here and there, we go for months and months. Now you can come and go as you please, but like right now, I'm fixing to go from I started in Big Bend National Park. I'm in Harper, Texas right now for the solar eclipse and our group is
Cool.
going up to Pella, Iowa. Oh yeah, we've got a great spot for the solar eclipse. We're having a whole party and brunch, and I made everybody wear costumes. I'm like, wear your best solar eclipse outfit, and everybody's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I have no idea. Let's just see what happens. So then we're going up to Pella, Iowa for a tulip festival. And then we're going to go left, hang a left, and go across the Badlands. We're going to spend the summer in Washington and Oregon, drive down the California coast, and end up in Arizona in October.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we're on a 6 month trip that if you're in the club, you can come and go, stay the whole thing, or come and go as you please out of it.
Yeah. Do you so does that mean that you prefer to travel with people or do these experiences with others, or I have become a person where I prefer to travel alone because I've gotten so used to it that having
Mhm.
to accommodate other people is like, oh man, gosh, now I'm
Yeah.
not used to that anymore. So, do you have a preference? Is that why you joined this club? So you had that interaction after being driving in your RV for however long, or it's nice to have the balance now?
I like the balance, Ashley. I drove from South Florida to Alaska by myself.
Wow.
Loved it, didn't have any trouble. I'm single, I am completely fine on my own. I'm with you. I mean, I went to Europe. Every time I've ever been to Europe, which is maybe 6 times now, I've gone on my own.
Mhm.
Loved it. Have no problem traveling. And again, that's what's good about this club. You can come in and come out. Right now, I've been with them 2 weeks. I'm fixing to drop out for a week, go see my sister because we're only 3 hours away. Then I'm going to come back to them again. Then I'm going to drop back out again in Missouri. I'll meet them again in Iowa. So I like a little of both. I get tired of being around people, and then I want to be around people. So it's a nice mix, like you said. It's a nice balance.
Yeah, I'm finding that because I spend so much time alone that when I'm finally FaceTiming with a family member or a friend or having these conversations, I have to remind myself, stop talking, Ashley. Because it's been so long since I've been able to express anything to anybody. But so these conversations are lovely. With traveling and you're driving for a long period of time, the biggest road trip I have ever done by myself has been from New York to North Carolina. So that's a
Mm.
12 to 13-hour trip by myself. I usually listen to podcasts to help the time go by and to keep myself occupied, or I'm listening to Les Mis or Rent because they're really lengthy soundtracks and I sing along and keep myself awake. Is there any tricks that you have when you are driving by yourself to keep yourself alert, awake, safe, and help the time go by?
Yes, I love podcasts. Totally love it. Love your podcast. I listen to a bunch of RV podcasts. I love books on tapes. My favorite is Swindled is a great podcast. I love Roam in Your Home. And because to me podcasts are more up to date of the podcast was last week. The podcast was 2 days ago. I like that, especially for RV stuff. YouTube is great if you need a visual on how to do something, but podcasts and audiobooks, the way to go.
Mhm.
I like the RV Life. That's another great podcast because that's everything RV. That's if
Mhm.
I want to figure out how to do something, I can search on that and find out how to do something on that. But yeah, just like you, I don't listen to Rent and La Miz, but I've seen them, but I don't listen to them.
I'm a stereotype of everything nerdy. I love my show tunes, and my sister she just turned 17 today. Today's her birthday. That's crazy. But she makes fun of me because she'll play pop culture songs and I'll have no idea what they are because I don't listen to the radio anymore. With all of our technology, I listen to podcasts and I
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
my musical theater albums. So, do you feel being part of, to go back to the club, do you feel that they help you plan out your itinerary, or do you prefer to have your bucket list of things that you want to do? And then if the itinerary from the club overlaps, then great. If not, you're going to do the things that are best for you. How do you manage that, creating your itinerary?
Sorta, kinda. In the beginning, when I first started traveling with the club, I looked, at the trips they had planned and kinda said, "Oh, great. This one has Grand Canyon and the Big 5 national parks in Utah. I wanna go on this one." But like most RVers, my first year, I took care of my bucket list stuff. I've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon. I've always wanted to go to Niagara Falls. I've always wanted to go to Bar Harbor, Maine, and I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I did all them my first year. Then the second year, I was like, "Huh, now where do you go? Now what do you do?" Remember, a lot of people live in an RV, but they're stationary. They get it in an RV park and they sit there. They don't move. I travel about every week.
Mm.
Once or twice a year, I'll sit for a month here and there, but for the most part, I move, 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 move. I like it. That's part of what I like. So now that I own the club, I bought it in March of last year.
Mm.
I create the itineraries, and it's stuff I want to do, frankly. Now, if the club members tell me stuff and where they want to go, and I create itineraries for them. But like right now, I wanted to do the solar eclipse. I wanted to go to Big Bend National Park. I wanted to go to Oklahoma City and see the memorial, from the bombing. I wanted to go to Iowa for the Tulip Festival. So I said, hey, do all my friends want to come along? And I created itinerary for the club. And I think there's 30 of us right now on this trip. It'll drop off,
Mhm.
and go back up and drop off. But yeah, there's a whole group of us heading that way.
Do you find, because I'm hearing as you're talking about things that you do want to do, I'm hearing a combination of like historical places and nature specific places. What is your biggest motivating factor when picking a place that you're either going to visit for a quick moment just to see what you've got to see versus some place that you're going to stay for a month?
That's a good question. And it's hard because it's all over the place, Ashley. For instance, I knew last year in April, well, we all knew, but I knew the solar eclipse was going to happen. So I'm like, well, all right, I want to be here this date. So I had to go backwards to get us here. And then now we're here. Now what are we going to do? So
Mhm.
then I just created things around it. We have an East Coast trip that starts from Florida and goes all the way to Bar Harbor, Maine. And then if you want,
Mhm.
to Canadian Maritimes, but that is a history, and I market it as a history because
Mhm.
there's so much Civil War, how the country was made, born, all that, and so I market that as a history one. Right now, I'm working on one for photographers. We've got a lot of
Mhm.
photographers, and so I'm trying to come up with an itinerary of what's a good place that photographers would like to go and practice their skill. And like I'm going to have a professional come in and teach for a day
Oh,
type thing. I'm still
cool.
putting this together. So
Yeah.
to me, Utah is a beautiful place to take pictures. So that'll probably be around Utah. But it just depends, Ashley, on,
Yeah.
we're going to Alaska. So we're May 29th, we're going to leave for Alaska. And so I just did on that one, I just did what's the big highlights of Alaska? Fairbanks, Anchorage, all that. So we're just going to hit the hot spots, if you will. So it's kind of all over the place on how we pick, what trip to go on.
For and as you're talking about all of this, I've been traveling to a new place. It was averaging a new city each month, and now I'm at a different place once a week. And I find that my body, just because I have so many autoimmune things going on, that my body tends to shut down. And they're like, "What are you doing? Like, pick a spot, stay there." And any
Mhm.
change of routine, my body just does not like that. So do you have any tips or tricks to help with the stamina as you are someone that, for the most part, is traveling to a different place every week?
Yes. I would say if you're in an RV, make that RV, which it took me a while, but make that RV as simple and a couple of steps as possible to pack in and pack out.
Mm,
For instance, inside my RV, I don't have a lot of stuff sitting around, flowers and little tchotchkes and little none of that. If I do, it's held on by museum putty, so it stays even when I'm moving. And there's not a lot of that. So I
mhm.
mean, I can have the inside of the RV as long as it's cleaned up, but I can have the inside of this RV ready to go in 5 minutes. I mean, just there's
Yeah,
the stuff in the bathroom sits out. I put it in a basket and set it in the shower. Done. I mean, it's real simple. The outside, same thing. And then I also start the day before any outside stuff, chair, a table I have sitting outside. I pack that up the day before because I don't want to be exhausted and whipped either. But that's my tip. Have it as simple as possible and put things up as you go. Living in a small space, I think this is like 320 square feet. Living in a small space, one pencil out laying around, falls over. I move it. So I've learned to put stuff up. Makes it look neater. And then when it's time to move, I don't have all this stuff sitting out. But
yeah,
that took me a while. That took me a while to get to that point.
in my smallest apartment, I had to have everything in its place in order to not
Oh
go
yeah.
crazy and be tripping over stuff. And whenever my mother or a really close friend of mine would pop into my apartment and not tell me, I always knew when they were there because something
Oh,
was
yeah.
out of place, and they're like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "'Cause I
Yep.
know." Um,
Absolutely.
so if you've gotten yourself into a system, into a rhythm, which is what it sounds like to me is really it's more of you're in the rhythm of it now. Do you ever miss when you go and visit family members or such, being like, it would be nice if I just was permanently nearby your sister, so to speak, instead of traveling around and not having, I guess, a home base that you could always come back to if something were to happen that you needed to take care of, so to speak. Or is this just been your life for so long that you can't imagine going back to have one spot that you stay in for a long period of time?
When I visit my sister, I do kinda get nostalgic. Her house is lovely. I saw her building it. I've been with her when she bought some of the things, and I see them. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we went to Paris together, and we bought that. Oh my gosh," and I do get that nostalgia, and then as soon as I leave her house, I'm like, "Ugh, I'm glad I don't," I get to go somewhere. She's still sitting in that house. So, it comes and goes.
Yeah.
But I have an RV place right near my sister. It's like a mile and a half away. I have 5 brothers and sisters that live in Weatherford, Fort Worth, and so I have an RV park that's right there. I've learned that they all know where I stay, the same place every time, so they can swing by. So, I know that at some point I will stop doing this life, but I'm not ready yet. I'm still enjoying things, and I still have to see Vermont. I've seen every state but Vermont for some reason.
Wow.
I've done I know, no reason why, no offense, you Vermont people, but I haven't gone there yet. I just haven't swung by there yet, which I will do before this is over.
To go back to what we were saying before, of typically when I hear about RVing, it's been like the guy's guy
Yeah.
usually. Do you feel that you are, in a sense, a female in a man's world? Because I know I feel that in just like my work life. So
Yeah.
if that does that ever come across, or because of the nature of how you're traveling, you don't need to think about it, you don't need to worry about it, of it, the whole
I
man versus female thing.
At first, yeah, because I'm like, why am I'm in this big old rig here? I mean, people are you draw attention when you pull into a gas station, first of all, because I take up the whole lane, first of all, and then they see a girl get out, and there that draws attention. So I'm very aware, and I would say I'm most vulnerable at a gas station only
Mm,
because if there's some weirdo there, just luck of the draw, I get some weirdo that's watching me and follows me, which has never happened at all. But to me, that's when I'm most vulnerable is people see she's in that big old rig and she's by herself. So
mm,
I'm very aware. I get in that gas station, I get out, I watch if somebody follows me. Again, they never have. I feel very safe in this RV. Having said that, I feel very safe in this RV. In a house, you have another bedroom, you have a bathroom with a window, you have the window kitchen, you have all these different access points. And in an RV, my RV windows are so high they would have to have a little step stool to get in the windows. And they could, but they'd have to have something to climb on. The front door they'd have to take a crowbar to. Now it would open in a few minutes, but I feel like I would hear them and know how can react by the time that they're able to get in. But I feel very safe. More and more women drive RVs. Like I said, my club is 59% women to men. And it's not that I necessarily market to women more than men. It's just that's who's going. It is a safer life, of course, traveling in and traveling in the club. And I think why that's a lot of the women do it, and some of the men as well. But I
mhm.
think that's why this community group travel appeals to a lot of people as well.
Absolutely. I think that's been the number one thing that people bring up to me is how are you doing this because all by yourself? And it's that's the my tips for people is essentially you got to keep your wits about you. I luckily I'm going to find wood. Have never been robbed, and I've heard many other people traveling in pairs that have been robbed, and I
Mhm.
I feel like I should for sure something should have happened to me at this point. But again, theater superstitious girl. I'm gonna do all the things later,
Yes.
but
I'm knocking wood too, just in case.
yeah.
Yeah.
But is that your advice as well? It seems to just keep your wits about you and to be aware and to be looking and set up. There are safety precautions. So when you can rest and feel like you're able to actually sleep when you're sleeping, that sounds so silly, but I feel like as a fellow
Nope.
female, you know what I'm talking about.
Your point is valid, Ashley, because when to go to sleep at night, you want to be able to sleep and not have one ear open listening for somebody's, going to rob you. But I think as women, we're very attuned. We tend to be more attuned to the world around us, just unfortunately because we're vulnerable human beings walking around. So that's why I think women do well in this life and you don't hear a lot of crimes committed specifically against women in the RV world. I'm sure they're out there, but
Mhm.
it's because women are more attuned to what's going on around them. And plus, I always tell women if I see it and I think it's appropriate, not to do put anything on your RV that's girly focused, that's pink wheels or I don't know whatever, but just bumper stickers, women's right, anything like that. I'm like, get that off there because that way you don't just stand out. And I do several things like because I'll stay in rest areas and truck stops for a night. If I'm just going point A to B and sleeping, I'll pull right in with everybody else. But I stay in my RV. I never walk out. One time I pull the blinds down. Nobody knows who's in here, who's not in here. So to me, that helps me feel safe as well. And that's just something that you would do as a woman walking at night from a restaurant. You get in your car, lock the doors, and drive off. You don't sit there for 15 minutes all lit up by the dome light so that people can see, oh, look, a girl over there by herself, at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, we know not to do that. Same
Yeah.
exact thing in RV.
Yeah, you put in your destination, yeah, on your phone before you get in the car, that way it's just plug and go, yeah. That
Yes, good
always
tip.
drives me yeah, it always drives me nuts when I see girls sitting in the car playing on their phone, I'm like, "You can look at Instagram later, get out of the parking lot."
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so do you feel that traveling in this way and traveling solo in general and meeting people that you have gained a sense of confidence over the years? Because I know it's given me a sense of confidence just in the last 1 year alone. So I can't imagine if you've done more than that, how confident and cool in your own skin you must feel.
I that's yes, Ashley. And thank you for bringing that out because I do. And it's hard to say I feel so confident, but I feel I several things have happened to me in this RV and I'm talking a hurricane, a
Mm.
tornado, a moose wouldn't move. And at first that's so cute. Oh, little moose, but like 10 minutes later it's like, dude, you got to move. He wouldn't
Yeah.
move. I've had a flat tire. I mean, all things have happened. I've been lost on a dirt road and could not get out of this dirt road. But so I've learned that as long as I don't die or someone else, it's a funny story down the road. Traveling is also, and not just to me, but everybody knows this, but traveling has also opened my eyes up to the way the rest of the world lives, to others' plight, to others' circumstances. It's made me more moderate. It's made me more feeling towards others. Instead of just living in my little bubble where things were exactly this certain way and everybody else was an other. Now I see, oh, this whole world, we're technically all in this together. We're all connected together. And that sounds pretty new agey, but it's true. It helped me see all that.
Yeah, someone told me that the biggest cure for any ignorance, whether that's one way or another, it's travel, and I
Oh,
definitely have felt that in my travels. And there are certain cities that I have felt it more than others. I've been just last week. I was in Berlin, and I couldn't just all the history that has happened in that one city really
oh,
makes you
yeah.
think for a long time, and I've been very existential in that space for the past week or and a half for sure. Um, so I definitely feel that. Is there any one thing in particular that if you went back to like whenever the ages that you first get your driver's license. I don't know if it's 15, 16, 17 years old. And if you could go back and tell that girl, this is what I was able to do with my independence of having a driver's license, what's the story that would blow her mind the most as far as what a bad blank you are and what
Oh,
you do?
I love that question, Ashley. I got my driver's license like at 14 on a hardship license. Wow, I know. Is that ridiculous that somebody gave me that? But like I said, we were poor and there was a bunch of kids. We lived out in the country and we just went and said, she's got to drive. I got to drive kids to school. So I would, what a great question, because I would tell that girl, I was very unhappy at that age. I'm like, God, I can't even be a kid. I got to get a driver's license, start driving kids to school because of choices my parents made. I mean, that's a whole other show, and it's fine now. But I would love to tell that girl, honey, you are just getting started. The world is going to open to you, and you're going to drive 60 feet of vehicle going down the road one day. And you don't even know what that looks like yet. But you just hang on, girl, little 14-year-old girl driving kids to school, because your day is coming and it's more than that young girl living in Weatherford, Texas in a rented trailer is more than that little girl could even possibly imagine.
Yeah, and how that makes your story, hearing that, even more incredible. Of the I always talk to, because I'm from Long Island, grew up in a middle class family. So my start is very different from yours. But what we
Mhm.
have in common is that we have found such independence and empowerment in the travel of my family. I was expected to go to college, get a job, get married, have children, end of story. And I have chosen I went to college and I got the job, but the getting married and having kids, just didn't want it. I grew up with a brother that is autistic, and I felt like my whole life was we're 13 months apart. So it was always me and him together. And I have a sister that's 12 years younger. So well, girl just turned 17 today. And I felt like it was my job to take care of everybody because I was the oldest and I never felt independent. I never felt like I could be a kid. And traveling, I feel like I'm getting my childhood back in a way.
Mhm.
And I'm showing my younger cousins and the females coming behind me in the family of
Yes.
there's a different way and a different path. So if you were to speak to girls now and reach out to them, what's your advice to them as far as, do you encourage them to travel, or is there something more generic that you feel like is a message to them? I feel like you're such an inspiring figure and you should be everywhere. Everybody should know your name because I'm inspired by hearing your story. So what's some wisdom that you could impart on the 14-year-old girls out there in today's society with all the technology that they have? Instead of being stuck in your phones, what else can they do?
Get off them phones and live. I would quote my new friend Ashley and tell them, you may think you're expected to go to college and get married and have babies, or you could travel Europe. You could go out and travel Europe and live your life and then see if you want to go that other route. And maybe you don't. And that is perfectly okay. I would tell those young girls, start setting your life up now to have a life, whatever that means to you, whatever that means. I tell this too to older. I'm 60 now, and I tell this to people that are just retiring, or the husband partner left, or the kids have moved out, and now what am I going to do? Go live your life. You've taken care of everyone else. Go do you for a little while. And a lot of people, as they get older, my age, they don't know what that means anymore. I've taken care of kids and a partner for 30 years. Well, why don't you go? What's on your bucket list? A lot of times, actually, they don't even have a bucket list. You
Mhm.
ask a 14-year-old girl, what's your bucket list? After she says meet, Britney Spears or whoever, Beyonce, after that, okay, okay, that's fine. But what else? Tell me
Mhm.
something else. What else you want to do? I try not to ask people, what do you want to do when you grow up? I try to ask kids, tell me something on your bucket list. And if they, come up with, meet Britney Spears, I'm like, no, what else? That's fine. I hope you meet her. Tell me something else. And the same with people that are in this stage of life like me. Tell me something on your bucket list. And they're like, I don't have one. I'm like, you reach back. There's even if it's stupid. Somebody told me I want to visit the Spam Museum. The
Mhm.
Spam Museum. You know what? To me, that's ridiculous, but you know what? They that do that before you die. We'll all be 90, God willing, at some point, and I don't for one, I don't wanna look back and go, "Man, I wish I would've." And so to those 14-year-old girls that you and I are talking to, Ashley, if we ever got a chance to, I would tell them that, 30 is a long way away from you, kid, but it is hurtling towards you faster than you realize. What are you gonna do with it? M what are you gonna do with your life?
Yeah, I'm turning 29 in 2 weeks, and it's I cannot believe that I am able to say I did everything I ever wanted to do, and I'm
At
only
29.
and I have to
At
find a
29.
new I'm at a big crossroads in my life, and I have to create this new bucket list for myself, and I've traveled very little of the United States, and I've always been too scared to do the RV option, to travel, but now it's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna
Mhm.
call you up now, and I'm gonna
You
join
bet.
your itinerary." Is your Did you? Because people ask me what inspired me to travel, and it was my grandparents, and it was all the books I read. So was there
Mm.
anything in particular that did you have any particular person, or did you have any particular movie or book that you were like, "That is what I wanna do with my life," or are you your own inspiration, so to speak?
I would say it's a mixture of all of that. I knew I always thought when I grew up that I would buy the house and stay because we'd moved so much as a kid. And I bought several, and I'm talking like 15 houses, and I would fix them up, sell them, fix them up and sell them,
Mm,
not realizing, well, because I had a regular job I had to stay for, so I couldn't go travel. But that wanderlust has always been in me. I don't know if I would point to, I'll think about that after we're done here. I don't know if one particular thing. I think it was a mix of several things, a whirlwind combination, if you will, that got me into this life.
so for work and lifestyle, so if I'm someone that was interested in doing this and changing life courses, are there specific jobs that are perfectly catered to the RV lifestyle? And are you able to essentially just be a digital nomad? And as long as it's a remote job, you could do this life? Or is there, I don't know, what's the consensus of your club of what types of jobs they end up doing, you find?
There's everything from full time. I mean, we've got accountants, CPAs, a retired lawyer that just does specific research cases for civil things. We've got Uber drivers. We got a lady that does dog walking. I mean, they're retired and have their own income, but no, there's several. You can have any job, that's a digital nomad. You get yourself Starlink that's everywhere, because some of the places that we like to park or camp are kind of out, in the mountains of Colorado, I'm thinking of, in Utah, and etc. We've got some places that are nowhere near town. Get a Starlink and you can work and again, not skip a beat in that life and all, as long as your boss doesn't care where you are. And we've got traveling nurses that go and they'll say, I'm going to be, in the Denver area working. I'm going to work 2 weeks and I'm done. I'm going to come travel with you guys for a week. We have these, I call them forest rangers. I don't know what they are, frankly. They're like about your age and they work in the forest for like a month and then they're off a month and they'll come travel with us for a month when we're in the West.
Yeah.
And they're like your age, and I'm like, the first time I saw them, I'm like, "Why are y'all traveling with your grandparents? You know what?" And they're like, "We love y'all. We feed them,
Yeah.
and we'll go on a hike together, and they'll do 20 miles, and we'll do 3 miles. But it's still a shared community, and that's what those kids are looking for, a shared
Mhm.
community. The same with us. Being around them kids is great for us as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, 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 for sure. Um, Man. I have taken up way too much of your time, so I feel like we
Okay.
could talk for hours. When
Yes.
you do your Florida to Maine trip, if you pass through North Carolina, definitely I'll have to meet you in person, because I'll be in I'll tell you when we're done recording, or
Okay.
I'll end up being, and then maybe we can work something out. But I have a couple of wrap up questions that I like to wrap up every interview with. Is it okay if I ask you?
Yep.
It's rapid fire. So,
I'm ready. I know what they are. I'm ready.
um, favorite food city that you visited?
Las Vegas.
Oh,
Their food is unbelievable there.
that's another place I've never been. I have to do more of the US. Do you prefer a vacation that requires you to be active or relax?
Active,
I had a
active.
feeling that was going to be your answer.
'Cause
And
I
then,
live on vacation, I
yeah,
live on vacation.
yeah, and with all your hiking too. City where you learned the most about yourself.
Houston, Texas, because researched where I came from, and I learned a lot about my family coming over from Wales into Virginia and how we ended up in Texas. So I'd say Houston.
Did you find, sorry, this is not part of the rapid fire, but I'm actually, as we're speaking, I'm getting uh, emails from a genealogist in Italy for my family. I'm surprising my father when he comes to
Oh,
visit me in 2 weeks. So to
love
show him
it.
where his family was born, his grandfather was born. But anyway, did that make a huge impact and like fill in a lot of dots for you or the missing puzzle pieces, finding out your family's ancestral history?
It really did, and I got so into it, more than I even needed to. I realized at one point, because back then in Texas, the South, everybody had 13 brothers and sisters. So there was like a whole section of all these deaths, and I found that the men in my family were working in an oil field, and the oil field blew up and killed all of them. I found that the ancestors that came from Wales into Virginia had slaves, and I was able to find the tax records on the slaves, who he owned, what happened to them, and which then, just to keep going, which then ignited my efforts into traveling up the East Coast to learn about slaves and their contribution. I did that like in 2021 and just did a whole history of the East Coast and in Virginia, tried to find where my family came in. I couldn't, but I ended up learning a lot about how the South was done and the impact, like I said, of the slaves, what the slaves did for America.
Wow. That's Yeah, my family members came into New York, and they came after
Mm,
the Civil War, so
hmm.
they did some other not so great things, like involved with
Hmm.
the mafia and all that other
Yeah,
stuff. But
yeah,
it's crazy. That will take me into a whole other conversation. But my
right,
last,
right.
yeah, my last question for you is, where can people find you and the club that they can be part of if they wanted to?
Yes, thank you for that. The name of the club is Wandering Individuals Network. We use the acronym WINS since that title just rolls off your tongue. Wandering Individuals Network. And I've got a couple of free offers for them as well. A couple of free stops that they could come on, like the Tulip Festival. I've got room for them if they, could come by. But if it's okay with you, Ashley, I'll send you some links and stuff for the show notes, and you can add it, and then people can come on there. I'm hosting a free webinar if you want to get started in the RV life. Free
Yeah.
webinar, just me telling the stupid things I've done and lessons learned. And that's April 13th at noon Eastern Standard. And I can forward you that as well so that they have access to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your time. I know that we had to reschedule this and remap this a couple times, and it was worth the wait, this conversation. I hope that this was the least painful it could be as possible for you. So
Ashley,
it was
thank
amazing.
you. I'm inspired by you. I did not have the courage to go to Europe at 29 years old by myself. And I'm really, really in awe of you. I wish you much success and luck and tell you, keep going, girl. You ain't got to get married and have babies. You keep going and do exactly what you want to do.
And maybe I might be joining you sooner rather than later in that RV
I know.
circuit. So yeah, seems
I
to be
know.
the way to
I
go. We'll
know.
have to see how I can make myself funds to support it, but I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. Thank you so much, Janelle. And I will make sure to send everybody and include the links that you mentioned in the show notes, and we'll send more people your way. I have friends that I will make sure to send to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley.
I hope you are as inspired by Janelle as I am. I hope to see you at her next webinar or on a future trip with the Wandering Individuals Network. I also can't wait to apply her tips and tricks to my future travels in any circumstance and also just to my life. Jenell is so brilliant, and I hope that you feel the same way. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Eat, Explore, Love the podcast. Till next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on eatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mienka.